Hello and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. I'm Jasmine, your host, and I have my friend Natalie, who's on mute right now. I don't know why, but my friend Natalie. Hey, Natalie.
I thought I'd let you talk.
I was like, hey, is she going to be able to say something? How are you, Natalie?
I'm good. Yourself, Jazz.
I'm good. I'm good. Natalie, just before we begin and we have a beautiful conversation about living the life we want, and I know you've got plenty to say about that, can you tell my listeners who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Oh boy. Okay. So my name is Nathalie Laurin. I currently live in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Canadian podcast.
Woohoo! Local too. So originally from Northern Ontario. So for those of you who are Canadian who are thinking, really, you're in Ottawa? Yeah, I have a little bit of a country twist to me because I'm from Northern Ontario originally. So about myself, well, I am a mom of a 6-year-old. I'm a wife of an amazing husband who reminds me every day that I'm loved, even on those days that I forget that love is all there is. And I'm a mom of some furry little ones, so rescue cats and dogs who remind me every day that life can be nice and slow and still really nice, right? And I'm an adventurer. I'm a country girl who prefers to be in her canoe than to be in a business suit in a cubicle. And then for a living, or I guess my contribution to the world is I'm a coach, trainer, and a facilitator.
Okay. And we met during all these 3 principles trainings that we've been loving, because I think that we both love the conversation.
Yes. But it feels like we've known each other forever, though.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Like, so for those of you listening, we're both bilingual. So I'm hoping we're going to stick to English because I think we're both the same. We can switch to French in a jiffy. So hopefully there will not be any French in this podcast. But if there are and you like it, well, tant mieux, mes amis, tant mieux.
You'll definitely get a lot of A's because we're both Canadian.
There you go, right? So tell me, my friend, what do you think? Like, as you know, my podcast is Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. And I know that you've been going through stuff lately. Life is alive, right? So we have to go through things. And I think that lately you've seen something about living the life you want. Yeah. I know it's a pretty big thing, but what would you say?
Yeah, so just so that people can kind of have the context, there's been a lot of health issues lately for me. And, I love that the way you asked the question, Jazz, because I think that's what I saw in it, is that a lot of us spend a lot of time saying what we don't want. I didn't want to be sick. I didn't want to have health issues. I didn't want to feel tired. I didn't want this. And I think lately, what I really started to see is that a better question is, what is it that I really want? And for me, I just really wanted to reconnect with love and the present and the joy of the simplicity of just playing with my kid or walking the dog or connecting with another human being through the work I do. Like, that's what I've seen lately is I ask the right question, really sincerely know what you want. And it's pretty cool to notice how it starts to emerge from there.
Do you think that it's about the moment Do you think it was like, it's kind of like what I heard, like my podcast is Dream It, Dare It, Do It, right? So it feels like you were kind of caught up in the doing.
Mhm. Well, and a lot in the future, right? Because
Mm,
doing in the present was about what it would yield tomorrow, about achieving a goal that was in the future, about, you know, just a lot of tomorrow. Like I never even stayed in the moment when I was doing to really enjoy it in the moment. It was always, okay, so that contract's done. Okay, next, right? And like there was just no
yeah,
pause. And oddly enough, that tends to be the market I work with. It's high achiever executives who have the same
yeah,
approach.
yeah,
And so nothing happens for without a reason.
yeah,
And it's been a gift for me, and in turn, a gift for my clients.
yeah, yeah. I can hear it. I can hear that it was almost like the health stuff, like the universe or mind or whatever you want to call it, said, yo, you don't want to stop? Here, now you gotta, right? And then you had no choice,
Yeah.
right?
It's been telling me that probably for the past year. I just ignored it. So it kept getting louder, and I ignored it. I kept getting louder, and I ignored it until it finally said, you just don't have a choice anymore, lady. You're going to stop.
Yeah.
And it didn't give me a choice. And amazingly, the battle that I used to have where I really hated how my body was holding me back. And now there's just this new love and appreciation of like, man, it did its job
Mm,
better than I could have ever imagined.
yeah.
And I really wish that all the medical professionals who were trying to guide me would see that and appreciate that for that gift that it gave me, instead of saying, oh, okay, like, man, we have to do this and give you this pill and do that. It's like, no, I didn't need to give it more things to override the system. I needed to stop and hear it.
Mm, mm.
And we're beautifully built, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We definitely are. And it's like, so people listening, don't think that we're saying don't get a goal. It's not about not having the goal. I think it's forgetting that you've created the goal, right? And then forgetting that that was all made up, and that was all made up in 1995. And you're now in 2021, and maybe it actually changed if you would just look and check.
Yeah. And the thing too is there's a difference between having a goal, like, oh, this is where I'm going towards, versus having a lot writing on it, that it has to be accomplished this way and it has to look that way. And, it's one thing for it to be a source of like, I don't know, a vision or motivation, versus it be like the ball and chain that dictates your day to day. And I loved a recent conversation you had with Mavis, where she distinguishes the difference between a want, which is that misuse of our creative energy, and unfortunately, I think the way that a lot of leaders and high performers, and we really abuse our creative power by creating these goals that we hold on to like they are written in stone, and that's the unhealthy relationship that we can have with goals.
Yeah. There's so much power in being in the present. The other day I was talking with my friend Rob, Rob Cook,
Yeah.
and Rob had a car accident, and Rob was in the military, and Rob has been in the war, and like he's had PTSD, and he talks freely about this. I'm not divulging anything. He actually talks about it. And when he had his car accident, and this was the first time he was in a car accident after understanding this conversation that we're having about mind, thought, consciousness. And he said, I could see the anxiety, the thinking that was coming up. And he said something that made me go, wow, like that just made me go. He's like, the police officer was talking to him, and he said, he was asking him questions and this and that, and Rob said, can you just give me a moment? He says, I just need to get present. And the cop was looking at him going, what? Like, we understand this conversation, but the police officer is going, you want to what? You are present. You're right here, dude. So what he did is he just settled, and then he went to touch the ambulance, and he went to touch the car, and he touched himself, and then he said to himself, oh yeah, I'm here. Everything else is memory. That was just like, for me, I was like, yeah, if we could only do that for ourselves, be able to settle down and just go, okay, what's going on right now? There's just now. And I think there's the second that I bring myself back to the present, my breathing calms, my brain settles, my body relaxes, and then I can, okay, what's next? That's the only time that I can see clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. The presence is key. And the other thing is the simplicity in the present moment. Like, I have a 6-year-old, right? And he doesn't think. It's like quick, right? If I say, oh, I'm so tired, it's like a quick 2-second, well, then go to bed, mom. Right? Like, there's no thinking about it, and there's so much wisdom in what he says, but my head is racing. Well, I can't, I got to do this, do that.
Yeah.
But like, he's so in the moment and so responsive to what I'm saying. And I'm like, my 6-year-old has more wisdom than I do in this moment, because I'm not A, present, and B, living in the simplicity that free of all that thinking we have.
Yeah. I've been self-employed since 2001, and I've been living alone since 1992. I'm just freaked out. Like, I've been living alone for 29 years. It's just like freaky. And what I'm seeing, what I've been through a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the things that I've gone through is that I like watching TV. I love watching TV, actually. And I went through this process of, hiding it. I would hide it. I wouldn't tell you like that I liked watching TV, because I had this thought that watching TV was a waste of time. And a lot of people agree with me, don't get me wrong, but I actually love it. Right. And as when I became self-employed, well, I could watch TV as much as I could, right? Like, I was like, oh yeah, well, it's 10, what's playing at 10 in the morning, and I went through this period of just like, I would just binge and binge and binge. And that's why that also the live the life you want transformed for me. Like, I created the words dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want when I first started my business. And what I noticed is that my want changed. My want, like, I want to watch TV well, I kind of saw at one point that, like I could watch TV 24 hours a day if I wanted to, but then it lost its luster. It lost its, like, I was like just watching TV to watch TV. And then I was really just wasting my time. Right. But then it turned into, it's not really the TV that I like. It's certain shows. So I liked comedy. I like drama. I like, these days I'm into true crime. Let's not go there, but I'm into true crime. And then I started seeing it started to transform. It was like a deeper level of want. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started just looking, okay, so this, and now I'm talking about television, but obviously this is just like to make it really simple, but I'm looking at it in every way. Now I told you in the beginning, off camera, I told you that I had these clips, that segments that I have in the podcast. And one of the things that I started looking at was the eating, right? Because I was eating what I want, because I wanted the life, right? I wanted to live the life I wanted. So if I'm going to live the life I want, I'm going to eat what I want. Well, ta-da! There you go. But now I'm looking at it differently. It's like, okay, so yeah, maybe I want the cotton candy, but really I want the cotton candy at the level of, it's a different level. Now I'm like craving salads, and I'm craving new things that are healthy that I never thought I would, right? So that's why I loved doing these little clips that I did in this season of the podcast. And I have one last episode with Amy. Her name is Amy Crippen. She does the segment called Eat What You Want, Mindful Eating. So I've recorded this in April, so I don't even remember what it's about, but the title of it says Being Present. And I thought that, it wasn't our theme.
Yeah.
So here is the Being Present capsule. Let's listen to this together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another segment of Eat What You Want, Mindful Eating with Amy Crippen. Hi, Amy.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you.
So Amy last time had this insight that, it's not about eating. It's about feeding myself. And that feels good, actually. It's almost like there's freedom around that. But now I'm kind of like, okay, but how do I know I'm feeding myself? Like, how do I know that I'm nourishing? I know I'm going to start seeing it differently. I can understand that if I start looking at it now, like I just had 2 apples, which is not something that I eat, but I was like, oh, I want candy. And I looked at the apples and I said, no, let's go do the apples.
Yeah.
So I know that it, and I feel fine, like I don't feel like having that sugar anymore. But what would you tell people now at this point, now that they kind of like got there?
Well, first off, notice how that gentle recommendation just came from within in the moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't a planned thing. It wasn't like I have to do it this way. There was just this little gentle guidance that was like, no, actually, apples sound great. And we really do have that. I really do see myself reaching for nachos, and it's not a diet voice. It's not a self-judgment voice. It doesn't have all those extra layer things. It's just kind of like me mindlessly going nachos. And then my body's like, no, actually, you know what you need? You need apples and peanut butter. That that's where your energy's at. And noticing where your energy's at is a large part of knowing what to eat and knowing how to nourish yourself, right? And knowing what gives you energy. So much, I mean, that's what, like we get different types of energy and our body uses energy in different ways. But just to make it very simple, noticing how I'm feeling, my energy levels, my mental clarity, right? You can tell like your digestive system feeling heavy or not, we get that sort of feedback from our body, from our diets. There's so much of eating that can cause chronic fatigue or not having that clarity of mind, kind of that brain fog around us. And we don't realize that it surrounds a lot from our nutrition. And
like I get angry, like how people say that thing, like I'm hangry, I've been that way since I was a kid. I mean, no joke. I mean, if I was hungry, I needed to eat like right away. And I think that one of the things that has not been good for me is that I just thought that I just needed to put something in my body, without actually noticing what it was that I was putting in my body, so there are things that will, I feel like these are dumb questions, but I'm still going to ask them.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So there are foods that actually have an impact on our mental clarity. Like I'm a transformative coach. So I talk a lot about being clear and once you're clear, you act, you do clear actions. But I never really thought about it. Like, I'm sure it has happened, but I never really thought about, whatever I ate giving me mental fog. I never associated that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you can get really technical and look up all the foods that, are good for you, but I'm sure you already have, or the different foods that do XYZ and try to like get more of those in your diet. And I'm not saying that that's a bad way to approach things or not. Especially if, if it's something you're curious about, if you're curious about learning but like, look at it. What I'm saying is you don't have to make it complicated. You don't have to like fatigue yourself on like being perfect in it. It's just about really listening to yourself and being present, like being present to your signals that your body's giving you, being present to how you're actually feeling, and noticing those things so that you can make more and aligned decisions, when it comes down to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's like certain foods like berries have antioxidants. So yeah, it's great to have like berries around, so you can have those types of things. But you really, my biggest thing is just making sure that you're eating what you like and eating a variety, right? Because that's something you're going to stick with versus some fad that you're trying for a short period of time and then you revert back to the really bad habits that aren't nourishing you, if that makes sense, right? Like you like spiral into the bad habits and that aren't nourishing you.
Yeah, I remember I go see this girl that does reflexology on me. And, she's a naturopath, and we talk about, she massages me for like an hour and a half, so obviously we talk. And I remember I remember her saying, like when you start eating junk food, you get into this spiral. Like the more you eat it, the more you want it. And then you just get into this spiral of just like you could be eating super good all week, like eating healthy, like not because, okay, I'm doing the healthy eating, just like eating healthy. Like there's a difference between, okay, this week I'm going to do the healthy eating
Hmm.
versus, oh, this week I'm eating this because I know this is going to feed me, and I'm eating this because I know this is going to feed me. Like there's a difference.
Yes, there is. Hmm.
There's a different feel. There's a different energy behind it.
Hmm.
There's more freedom, and the only word I have is freedom. you know
I kind of think of it as those restrictive diets are like determination and willpower and getting over your mental. You need, it's like it takes a lot of energy to like tunnel vision your entire life around this way of eating,
yeah
right? Versus this devotion to your health. And because you're devoted to your well-being and your health and feeling well, you do your best to make choices in alignment with that.
yeah so there's a difference where it's like your come from. This is
Hmm.
like when with my coaching.
Yes, your come from.
Yeah, it's your come from. So if you're coming from a place of, I want to feed my body, I know, like there's one thing that I saw. I had a coaching class not long ago, and one of the things that I said to, I was getting coached and all of this, and one of the things that I got is this. He was asking me, well, Jasmyne, when does it feel like um, you your thinking is really real, right? Because this is what we're exploring in transformative coaching. It's kind of like, okay, well, there's thought, there's like your personal thinking, and then there's just the universal thinking, and then there's just your knowing that this is right for you, right? There's this is right for you. And so he says, when does it really feel real? And that's what I said is, when I really want something, you know like, or I really like or don't like, more like when I don't like something, that's really real, you know. And and then what came to me was, but what I'm realizing is that when I'm really, really sitting in my well-being, when I'm sitting in this place where I just am me, I'm not who I think I should be. I'm not
Hmm.
who you think I should be. I'm not, I'm just me, clean and simple. I know what's right for me, and I'm unshakable. And I don't care what you think about that. I don't care what anybody thinks about that. And what I saw was that I don't even care what I think about that.
Mm, yeah, because you know what's right for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that, I'm able to go, yeah, I think I should have candies. But my well being says, yeah, you can think that, but let's go have apple.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful insight because, like, I have no idea how this is gonna, what this is gonna do in my life, right? Because
Yeah.
it just literally just occurred.
Hmm.
But it's a nice place to stand.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to do it your way. You
Yeah.
know, we really do get to do what feels good to us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, Amy, we're gonna close up this episode, and then we'll see you on another one.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you for the chat. Take care.
Of course. Bye-bye.
That was cool.
That is cool.
What did you hear?
You know, it's so timely, because I think it's one of the things that I've come to see for myself lately is that, you know, I thought there was thought and then there was body. And what I've come to see is even body sensation, cravings for food, they're just a different type of thought. And just like I don't need to breathe life into one or hold on to one, and, you know, I also don't need to get scared about cravings or, you know, pain here or pain there. And I don't even need to pay attention to it or do anything about it, because they're all going to pass. And just like we have one thought that says, oh, I'd really like to, you know, punch this person in the face because they make me so angry. And in the same moment, there's this other thought of, I really just want to show them love. They're there at the same time. So as much as there's like, oh, I'm craving candy, there's the other one is there. But the feeling that comes from the different ones is so clearly different. And, you know, Mavis shared it with you in your last recording, that when we're just in tune to what it feels like, we're a little bit more onto what's really serving us and what's not serving us.
Yeah. You know, in this recording, I say, this is a new thing, and I don't know what's going to happen with it, because it was like, and no joke, I recorded it in April. And now we're in June. So it's funny, because as I was sharing, I was like, it has actually been very impactful in my life, because the major thing that I saw in that is that my preferences are thought. My preferences are my personal thinking. There's nothing wrong with preferences, people. Now, I'm not telling you that it's wrong to have preferences. How I had it, how I was living my life was that, well, this is my preference. And if I don't have my preference, it's hell. You know?
Yes.
I had, but that has, what the insight that I saw, that I really don't care what I think, has had a major impact on me, because I can sit in this space where you were saying the feeling, I can sit in the feeling of love more now, because I can see, oh yeah, but I would prefer this. Oh yeah, but I would prefer that. It doesn't matter. It's this, that's all made up. That part is all made up. What's going on right now? Oh, I'm going to tell you a story. So so let's talk about it like this. I have my personal thinking, my personal identity, like what I think, you know, who I think I am. You know, I have all of these things that I made up about me. One of the things that I made up about me is I like comfort. I don't like to sweat. I like harmony. Everything needs to be harmony. I don't necessarily get along with my brothers and my father. And I'd rather stay in than go outside if it's raining. Okay. So given that I'm telling you all of this, last weekend, and if all of this didn't occur, like, it would have a major impact on my mood, on, you know, my face. Like, my face would go from to, right? So would have a major impact on my face. But last weekend, here's what happened. I'm going to try to shorten because we only have like 6 minutes left. I decided 5 p.m., just finished a class that we were on and going deeper. And I said, wow, it's beautiful outside. I'm going for a car ride, right? I love going on car rides. So I said, why don't I ask Dad? So I called Dad and I said, Dad, you want to go for a car ride? And he says, where do you want to go? And I said, let's go see my brother, your son. And he's like, okay, hang up the phone. And I was like, first of all, I thought he was going to say no. Second of all, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what? You were in this beautiful space. Why are you going that away? Anyways, but I'm not paying attention to that thinking. So get in the car, grab my dog, go to my dad's. My dad is elderly. He's 79 and he's got trouble walking, but he's resisting the fact that he's got trouble walking. Like he thinks, no, I can do anything I want. So he's in the house and I said, Dad, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to walk the dog before we drive because it's going to be a 45-minute drive. So he says, okay. So I put the dog out and the dog starts pooping, but she's having an issue with her butt. That's like her butthole is closed. So the poop is actually not coming out. It's actually spreading all over her butt. And I'm like, shit. Poor baby. Literally. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like looking at her and she's having a hard time and I'm feeling bad, poor baby, like, and all of a sudden I hear the door open. So I turn around and I'm like maybe 20 feet away. And I see my dad coming down the stairs and he says, come and help me. I said, wait, the dog is doing her thing. You got to wait. So I'm looking at the dog and then all of a sudden I hear bang and I'm like, let's turn around. I can't see my dad. And my dad fell. So now he's on his back in the garbage pails and I can't let go of my dog. She's right next to the street. So now I'm like, what am I going to do? Figure out a way. He's screaming by now. He's like, come and help me. And I'm like, oh my God. So I take the dog's leash. I tie it to my car window. So hopefully if she finishes, she's not going to run away. I go to my father. Do you want me to help you? Like, let me pull you up. He doesn't want me to pull him up. He's like being upset. And he's like, just sitting there. He's like, how am I going to do this? And I'm like, hello, I'm right here. Let me help you. And he's just sitting there. He's like, what, 200 pounds? I can't, like, he's got no strength in his legs. So now I'm like, oh man, so I could go into the thinking, oh man, he's fallen. He's getting old. I'm going to have to do this. I'm not having any of that. Somebody drives by and sees him on the ground and sees me. I'm like standing going, looking at the dog, looking at the papa, looking at the dog, looking at the papa. And I'm like, she drives by, she turns around, she U-turns, she gets out of the car and she comes to me. Now I'm like, oh, great. Now embarrassment, people know, right? I'm not going there, but all of that I would have, like I would have had that thought. She's like, can I help you? Do you want me to call the cops? I'm like, well, no need to call the cops. I'm just like, who do I take care of? Like the good daughter, should I take care of the dog? Should I take care of the dad? What the hell? And she goes, I can take care of the dog. I was like, okay, take care of the dog. So I helped my dad up. He sits in the car. I thank the lady. My dog is full of poop. When she sits in the car, she hops on here. Ain't no way she's going to hop on here now. So I tell Dad, I have to go in the house now and clean the dog. So I go in the house, I clean the dog. I'm sweating profusely because it's a warm day. I get undressed. I'm wet all over the place. My dad's in the car. I'm freaking out, washing the dog. And I'm like, he's going to be so pissed when I get, because he's got no patience. Get in the car. He's like, okay, so are we ready? And I'm like, nothing. Okay. So we drive to my brother's. On our way there, it starts pouring, like can't see in front of you, pouring. And like it's 45 minutes of like, I'm telling you this giggling because I was giggling, and I was really amazed at how none of it impacted me. And there's more to the story. There's actually more to the story. I'm not going to tell you because I like to embellish and I like to play. But I was just amazed at how I knew that all of it was made up. And if I brought myself back to the moment, I could see that it's like, okay, so I handled it. I washed the dog. I picked up the dad. It was rain. We came through it. We saw the brother. It was all okay. And that was freaking amazing to be able to do that, to be untouched by all the thinking that I may have about something.
Yeah. And that applies to the conversation about food we've just had,
Yes.
to the conversation to having ambitious goals that I share at the start, to the conversation around health. Like that's it always comes back to that.
That's life.
Thinking part, and thinking that we have to respond to it.
Yeah. We began the call and you said, in your share, you said, what I really want was love. That love is always in you, right?
Yeah. And it's not that I wanted love. I wanted to go back to it. Like I knew it was there.
Yeah.
There's just so much stuff in the way that, made it hard to connect to it.
Yeah. It's kind of like I really see us as a space. Like I see us as a space, and we can see things. We can see, oh, I don't like this. Oh, I like this. Oh, I have to work at that. Oh, I gotta handle this client. Oh, and we can see it all, right? But when our come from is love, we don't get caught up in it. It doesn't, it's almost like, like a dirty bag of clothes, you put the love at the bottom and then you put the dirty clothes on top, and it's kind of like the love is going, oh, hello, I'm here.
Yeah. And the beauty is that you don't even need to know it, don't need to even call it anything. It's just what's left at the end of it all.
Yeah.
And back to the being in the moment. I think that's the being in the moment piece, is that it's the only thing that's present in the moment.
Yeah. It's like when we were hearing, in the class we're taking now, which is going deeper, where Michael says, everything before the but is heaven, right? Everything after the but is hell. It's like, so that means like when you see something that you're like, like when you're in this space and you're like, yeah, I just want to play with my kid, but I have to answer this client, and I have to answer that client, and I have to answer this client, and I have to answer that client. Then you just stepped into hell.
Yeah. Or, but I'm tired, or but it hurts, or, but play has to look this way.
Yes.
You could go on and all those things, but yeah.
So tell me, what is the space for you? How would you describe love? That space of love?
I don't even know if it can be described, because I actually think if I tried to describe it, it would probably take people away from it.
Yes, I agree.
I think it's just, know it, because it feels, and I want to be clear, it's not that, ooh, I love him, right? Like that butterfly kind of, it's not, it's just a more peaceful here now. Okay. I kind of call it I'm okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, like putting words into it. Like, and Mavis taught me this. Like Mavis was like, it's about the feeling. So guys, it's about the feeling. But because we're talking and we're on a podcast, we got to put words to it. Because if we would just be sitting here looking at each other in the eyes, it would be like a weird podcast. Right? But it's a feeling. And the way that I identify it is like it's before you add the right and the wrong, the good, the bad. Anything before that, it's just what is. What is right now. It's almost acceptance. Like I used to say, love is acceptance. Like you just accept what is and what is not.
It's interesting when I hear the word acceptance, I have a little response to it, because I recently did a group coaching call on that. And it's funny because people are like, I just need to accept things. And all I could hear was this conversation around wanting to control.
And that's why words suck.
Yes.
The word acceptance for me is love. The word acceptance for you is control. So it's not about the words.
Yeah, it seems to be the word that when people are said, I need to accept, and they even say it like that. It's like they're trying to overcome the human element of life. It's like, I have to accept that I'm human, and being human means whatever it is, right? And it's like, well, that, or you could just see it for what is, that you're human and you're here and you're now.
Yeah. And whatever happens, we're going to get through it. We have till then. We have until now. I mean, everything. I mean, if you would have talked to me when I was 20 and I broke up with my fiance, it was the end of the world and I got over it.
If you talked to me in February, that's how I felt, right? I'm a couple of years down my journey, but it's so amazing how we can forget it. Even tomorrow, if we had the same conversation, we might feel really different because we are in the moment. Yeah. And whatever else is present, including our thoughts or sensation or cravings or,
Well, I got caught up in this podcast just in we've been talking for 45 minutes and I got caught up in it. I was like, okay, now I need to put a segment, and now how am I going to lead in? And now you're not listening to her. You're supposed to be listening to her, and all of this. And I was just like, okay, no, just settle. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. If you put the segment, you put it. If you don't, you don't. And that's what I call just bringing myself down. There's nothing to do. Just what is occurring in the moment right now. So what's occurring in the moment right now is that it's time for us to close up the episode.
Yeah.
And before we close up, I usually say to my guests, would you have a nugget of wisdom? And Mavis last week, she's like, besides all of the ones that we just said, but is there an ending few words you'd like to say to?
Oh my. Yeah, it's like I'm with Mavis, where to, I'm just going to say the first thing that came up to me, because I'm just noticing the time and realizing my son will be home soon, and I can't wait to say hi, and I love him. So, just tell somebody you love them. Just cause. Hug somebody, tell them you love them. It's so cliche, but it's what's in my heart right now. Is I can't wait to see my son and tell him I love him.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Good luck with everything. I'm sure we're going to be doing stuff together. I'm looking forward to it.
To be continued.
And to everybody else listening, I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want. Take care.